Hello, I'm Danelle Dautrieve-Sanford. Hello. Today's topic is reflecting on positive aspects of my previous position. So let's be clear. No job is perfect, but there is a saying that you don't miss the water until the well has gone dry. So I'm going to be talking about some positive aspects of the job, including the following areas. I'm going to be talking about the people, the paycheck, retirement plan, health insurance, open enrollment process, additional perks, and also one boss who mentored me. So let's start off with the people. Now, I've done some previous videos about some of the things that have happened on the job, story times. So every job you go to, there are going to be characters there. There might be toxic people, there might be annoying people, there might be passive aggressive people. But as a whole, I met lovely people at this previous position that I still remain in touch to this day. So regardless of there being flawed people there, there were also and still are also lovely people there that truly care for the population that they're serving. So that's my first positive thing to say. The number two would be the paycheck. I mean, that's why we all have a job anyway, to take care of our expenses. And that check came every 2 weeks, hashtag direct deposit, and it came every 2 weeks, and maybe 2 or 3 times a year there was something that I called the magic paycheck, where in that month you got 3 paychecks. So that was very helpful with budgeting. Number 3 is the retirement plan. Now, when I first started the job, they had what you call a defined benefit plan. However, in the early 90s, they did something where they allowed employees, if they wanted to switch over to a 401k. And many people did not switch over because they might have been close to retirement, but people like myself did switch over to the 401k largely because I wanted to have control of my finances. And I did not plan on staying there until I reached full retirement, which ultimately that's what happened to me. I left before I did full retirement, so it did work out in my favor. I would say that it's important, if you decide to switch over to a 401k, you have some basic financial principles that you're aware of, because the stock market is volatile. So you need to have some proper counseling in terms of how to do your investments. And in this case, I would have mixed reviews in terms of the companies, because they have a vested interest in the company that they're working for. I did get some good advice, and I did get some that was kind of skewed more towards, I was not sure if they all had a fiduciary responsibility, which means to give information that is truly in the interest of the client, which would have been me. But anyway, there's something very interesting that I learned, that they put into Social Security, and my current job does not put into Social Security. And not only that, my current job, my retirement plan is subject to something, although it is defined benefit, my current job, it's subject to something called Windfall. And what Windfall is when you are with an employer that opts out of Social Security and they put it into their retirement plan, there may come a point when you want to apply for Social Security from a previous job. Well, because you're at this job that did not put into Social Security and put it into their plan, they have something called a windfall. So what that means is you might get less Social Security. And this is something that I learned about, just having to learn about it, speaking to another coworker at my job. And she said that you need to look into that. So I did. So I actually called the Social Security office and learned about this. But I will say, with a combination of the previous 401k that I was able to roll over into a Roth, a rollover IRA without any tax consequences, and also the defined benefit plan, plus with Social Security, I think that come retirement, I'll be doing well. So that is a positive aspect. Number 4 is the health insurance. So one thing that I also want to mention is I vested into the retirement plan with my previous employer. I was there for 15 years, so as part of that, I'm eligible for retirement health insurance there in addition to life insurance, which is also another plus. And with the health insurance on this previous position, it is a lot more comprehensive. There's more benefits in terms of the medications, and also if, for example, you go with the local teaching hospital, you're not subject to co-pays. So that's something that my current position does not have. And something else that is very interesting, I was also speaking to a co-worker from this previous position. We actually ended up working with the same company for a while that I'm with now. She actually ended up retiring, but she mentioned to me that it would be in my best interest to use the health insurance from my previous employer, because the current employer I have has insurance through a state-funded insurance source. And that kind of stayed in my head because I like to listen to the elders, as I have mentioned that before. So I kind of looked into that, and I found out that there's some kind of clause that came in effect between 2015 and 2017 where, I don't remember the date, I have it written, it's on some paperwork, and it says if you didn't have a certain number of years by a certain date, you would not get as much supplements for your health insurance. So what that means is you might end up paying more money for your health insurance. And when I did research it, I found out that that was true for me. And I was looking at a news article, and it was very interesting about two different employers that I don't believe they necessarily work for the same company I do, but it's a similar company, and they get state insurance. So here's what happened. The one person worked in corporate and one person had a business. Same scenario, they were making quite a bit more money with whether they had a business or corporate, and they decided to scale down their businesses in the case the one, and the other one decided to do contract work and decided to come and work with a state-funded company such as the one I work with the knowing that after 10 years they would be able to get health insurance and a retirement payment. So this is about the same time that this clause happened. So what happened was, I'm not sure what happened or what year they started, but come to their 10 years, they didn't quite have those 5 years by that date. So here comes 10 years, they're age 60, they go and they put into the Retirement Association, who is the administrator of the retirement benefits. So the retirement administrator says, well, we don't control the health insurance. So, but they were not concerned because they were under the assumption they would get the discounted state health insurance. So they found out about their retirement benefit. So let me just give a scenario because I don't know exactly what their benefit was. So I'll give an example. For example, somebody has worked there for 10 years and it's a salaried job, and they find out they're going to get $2,000 a month. Let's just say they're going to take the maximum benefit of $2,000 a month. I'm not saying that that's what I'm giving. This is just information for example purposes. They say they're getting $2,000, so the administrator says, well, we don't control the insurance, so you're going to need to check the state insurance. They go to check this state insurance fee, and turns out that the premium is more than half of what their retirement check is. So, for example, the premium was over $1,000, including their spouse or dependent. And honestly, I checked into this myself, and I found out if I use this state insurance, it probably would cost me at least $1,000 for myself and a dependent. So thankfully, I have the insurance from the previous employer because that is a great expense. But imagine somebody leaving a corporate job, making a lot of money, and then they come to find out that they're not only are they not going to get good insurance compared to what they could have gotten in the general market, but also it's going to be quite expensive. So I would say that that is one good thing about my previous employer. I was able to get this better insurance at retirement. Now the fifth thing is the open enrollment process at this previous employer. So I will say that there was one thing that happened that really wasn't good with this previous employer. At one point they did an open enrollment process, which was a default clause. So what they said is, if you didn't declare that you wanted, for example, HMO, we're going to default you to this health spending account with this money. So that was not very nice, but thankfully there was a union organization. It's not as active as California or New York, but they were sitting on their retirement board and they were able to get that clause out of there. So what it says now is, if you decide you don't want to make any changes, it's going to stay same for the coming year. So their open enrollment process is fairly seamless. They had a Zoom meeting where they go over the retirement, whether you're younger than 65 or older than 65. And just for the employers overall, it's just a very good process. Plus the insurance is much better compared to the insurance I'm offered at my job, especially in terms of the prescriptions. So I'll just say that. Number 6 is additional benefits. One thing at this previous employer is my daycare was supplemented for my children. So for 2 years, they actually supplemented my daycare fees. So it helped to pay for childcare, after school, and summer. And thankfully I had a relative that cared for my children when I was at work. So it was a huge benefit to be able to get that supplement, and it was for 2 years. They also offered things like rapid transit cards, and they would do periodically do family events where you could take your family to the zoo if you had your ID. And there was a host of other things that happened that definitely don't happen on my current job. The last thing that I would say is I had one great boss who mentored me, and the key word is one great boss. Now I had a lot of bosses, but I had this one great boss that I still remain in touch with to this day. Matter of fact, my son, who was on the previous video, he graduated from nursing school. So when he graduated, this former boss actually sent my son not only a card, but a monetary gift. So like I said, this was a really good boss who was very instrumental in a lot of nurses getting promotions, or even if they didn't promote up, maybe she helped them to become nurse practitioners at one of the local universities to attend the classes. I was actually offered that opportunity, but I didn't know that I wanted to be a nurse practitioner long term, and there would have been long-term consequences, like I would have had less flexibility in terms of my position with this former employer. So that's it in a nutshell. There were a lot of good things, and one good thing, I mean, there were a lot of challenges at the job, but I am sure I would not be the person that I am in terms of my skills if I had not stayed there for those 15 plus years. So sometimes it's not everyone to stay at a job a long time, but some people it is. And you might have to go ahead and stay at a position and learn the lessons you need to learn so you can move on to the next position, whether you have your own business or you do travel or you work contract. So that's one thing I would say. No job is perfect, but sometimes it's good to reflect back on the positive things. That's all for now, everyone. Be sure to check out my About section and check and see where I am on social media. That's all for now, everyone. Goodbye.